Hello, hi, sawadee-ha, and welcome to Axelle's Guide to Thai Dramas. I'm Axelle, and the Thai drama we're talking about today is That Summer. So my first impression of That Summer were pretty positive. If you don't know, I really liked Winnie Satang in their first ever show, My School President. Didn't love them in We Are. I thought their ship was definitely the worst one out of the four. And so my opinion of them, out of all the GMMTV ships, is still pretty positive because out of all the GMMTV ships, most of them, I would say like probably 70-80% of them, I'm incredibly indifferent to them. But Winnie Satang are one of the only ships that I'm not like, I wouldn't consider myself a fan. Like I don't really follow them that closely. And now I'm thinking that I should follow them on Instagram now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah. Anyways, I don't really follow them that closely for now, but in general, I do really appreciate them. I think they are both good actors and I do think they have good chemistry together. So I was pretty excited. I was especially excited for my baby, my top 5 favorite actor of all time, Mantanu Chai, to be here with a new BL ship. I've followed Mon for 7 years now, almost, I think. And I've seen him in BL ships, straight ships. I've watched him in so many different roles. Good ones, bad ones, medium ones, mediocre ones. And I was just really excited to see him get a BL ship because I've wanted that for fucking years. And apart from that, I was quite excited for the island setting because I do love BL shows that are set in a new setting, a different vibe, a different aesthetic, if you will. And also I just really fucking love Thai Island so much. So like I think in a previous life, I was probably an island girl. Even though nowadays I would say I'm not just a city girl, I'm a big city girl. I mean, I've only ever lived and loved living in Paris and Bangkok. So yeah, but apart from that, like I do think I also have like some island love in me. So I was pretty excited for it. This was my first impressions. As for the Prince storylines, to be honest, my first idea anytime I hear about Prince storyline or like royalty and they have to like be normal or they forget their past or whatever it can be, it makes me think of like the Disney movie with Selena Gomez and Demi Lovato, Princess Protection Program, because genuinely like it's so that, you know what I mean? So I feel like sometimes it's a little bit of a childish premise, but in general, I was pretty excited for this show. Now for the synopsis. So the story follows Prince Davin from the fictional country of Aranta. As I said, in my 2 previous, like literally the 3 last episodes. So we've had an episode on Love in the Moonlight, I'm the Most Beautiful Count, and now That Summer, back to back to back. All 3 of these shows have invented a fictional country because Thailand is still a monarchy, so they have to kind of skirt around the topic and they cannot really deal with the real life monarchy in Thailand without facing some big repercussions, let's say that. So they created the fake country of Aranta, which Davin is from, and he ends up running away a month before his coronation with his best friend Victor, and miraculously out of nowhere he appears on a beach at the Bangsawan Island, where he is picked up and saved by Lava. Lava is also the main character of the show, who is pretty much like kind of fuckboy, party boy, and he gets into a fight with his mother and gets sent onto his the island that his uncle works at, Napeng, played by Mantanu Chai. And basically then Davin will be renamed Wave because he forgot his name, his origin, he forgot everything about himself, and they will have to cohabitate. At first they have a very litigious relationship where they fight all the time between Lava and Wave, and in the end they end up actually falling in love. What a surprise. Now on to the characters. So for the main character, we have Lava, played by Winnie Tanawin. I got this question on my Tumblr and I thought I would answer it now. almost always, even in romance, refer to the main character and the love interest, because although in like especially BLs, GLs that have a very strong pairings, like both of the love interest and leads are the main characters, in my opinion, there's always one that is a little bit more of a main character. So, most of the time it's the bottom character, and but even if you don't follow who's the bottom, who's the top, just see who is introduced first, who we get more screen time of, and especially who we get more of a backstory for. At the moment, I'm watching Burnout Syndrome as an Off-Gun girly. Obviously, an episode will be coming on that one. Okay. I was even at the premiere with Off-Gun, like, again, this is not the Burnout Syndrome episode, okay? And you can very clearly see that Burnout Syndrome, although it is a love triangle, so it's a little bit even more obvious that Jira, played by Ganatapan, is very much the main character, and Ko, played by Off, is not the main character. He is the love interest. And one of two, so he's even more withdrawn. He's developed as well, but you can clearly see it's something that is, in my opinion, pretty easy to tell. So I just wanted to precise that. And I do want to say that in the case of That Summer, actually I would say that Lava, so the top, is more the main character. But honestly, I feel like both of Lava and Wave are extremely developed the same way, because it's not, I would say they're both the main characters. It's one of the very rare examples where it's kind of hard to point to only one main character. But I would say Lava is still a little bit more of the main character because we see him first on the show and we see all the backstory of how he ended up on the island. Lava is very masculine, openly gay, very like party boy, loves like comfort and fun. He smokes weed. We'll talk about that. I was very, very surprised by that, actually. He's very much, go with the flow type of guy, non-committal, very much not very serious man. But he's also, I would say, once he pulls up, like, he's very loyal and caring. And, I really liked Lava. I thought he brought something new to BL that I hadn't really seen before. He has lots of like paradoxical character traits, and I really liked him as a main character. Then we have Davin/Wave. I will mostly call him Wave because he's called Wave from most of the show, obviously played by Satin Kitty Pop. So obviously he is a prince. He comes from a very different background, ends up on a random island, doesn't remember anything. I like Wave a lot. He's very, even though he doesn't remember anything, he's used to a life of like pure luxury and having everything done for himself. So he's very sheltered, which is kind of a fun dichotomy. Although Lava also is sheltered in his own way. So I think it was interesting to see that Lava, who had already gotten used to living and working, with his uncle, was now kind of turning on Wave and asking him to also adapt himself after he had just adapted himself like 5 seconds before. And Wave is very open with his feelings, loyal also, very just a good guy. Honestly, he's I think he could have been a little bit bland and boring. But I like that they made him very sassy, quite strong-headed. And so I really, really like Wave as well. Then we have Peng, played by my baby Montana Chai. So Peng is kind of a difficult character to understand. I wish we had seen maybe 1 or 2 flashbacks about his story, because I was a little bit confused by how he is, but I did like his relationships with obviously his boyfriend that it's coming, and Lava, and even Wave. Peng is a guy who used to live also not on the Bangsawan island, and kind of ran away from his family because his family is, as we understand, homophobic. So he runs away onto this island, creates a resort, and also becomes kind of the head of the whole island, unofficially, but then he will present himself to politics and deal with some homophobia, which is, I did like this storyline about him. Wish it was we had seen how he felt a little bit more, maybe had a crying scene, because again, I know that Mon can cry very well, and I wish that he had been a little bit more explored, especially on camera. But Napeng is very harsh with Lava, and they have a very contentious and also litigious relationship at the beginning, which will get better and better. But he's also very caring, very loving, very generous, very beloved of all the inhabitants in the island, and he's very hot. That's all I'll say. That's my bias, okay? And then we have Ma Wood, or Dr. Wood, played by Ryu Pudipart, yeah. Ma Wood is the secret boyfriend of Peng. They have kept their relationship secret, and Ma Wood is just a very good guy. He comes from a very important family on the island. He's obviously a doctor, so he has a high status, and he is very sad that Peng wants to keep hiding their relationship, because he's a lot more about being open. To be honest, I feel like Ma Wood is a little bit of a bland character. I wish they'd given him a little bit more, but I did like their relationship. All right. Then we have Tam, played by Neo Tri. Tam is also a worker at Napeng's resort, and also he goes on the boat to fish and stuff. He is kind of a lost guy in his life. He is very poor, but trying to court Krate, who is played by Min Tishar, Neo Tri's real life girlfriend. Krate is a nurse at the hospital. She works with Ma Wood, and she's being pursued by Tom for most of the show and ends up giving him a shot. I would say that Tom is fun. He matches Lava's energy. You could definitely see why these two are friends, not just because they both smoke weed, but also they have like very similar vibes, like very much the same vibe. And yeah, I would have hoped that Tom and Krate were a little bit more developed. I feel like they didn't serve much purpose in the show at all, but they were nice. They were nice enough. Then so these are for the main actors, but then for the other actors, notable ones from GMMTV that we know, we have T. Tiradesh playing Victor. We have Namtan Tipnari playing Anya, who is Davin's older sister. And we have Flugawin Kaski, my baby, playing Nati. Oh, we also had Tor Tinapan playing Peng ex-boyfriend for one episode, and Singh Harit playing Mai for 2 episodes. So very, very limited guest roles, if you will. So now on to the cast and acting. This show is very interesting because it's how to explain it? I feel like it didn't dwell much on the drama and the sad aspects. I felt like it was more of a sort of slice of life, where you could see the characters go through some bad shit, but the show didn't quite dwell on it. And a lot of these experiences were not really linked with others. There is the kind of C or D plot where where Lava and Wave are trying to figure out who Wave is. They get attacked on the road, and they have this story with the guy who works at a hotel who knew Wave before the accident, and it's very shady. But it's not super developed until the end, where we get to understand like everything that happened. And apart from that, like, I felt like the acting was good. I actually really liked Winnie in this role very, very much. He really impressed me more than his other roles. I didn't love him in We Are. I don't know. I couldn't really quite see him as like the cool guy, like the hot, popular guy in We Are. I liked him fine in My School President, but I definitely preferred Satang's character in that pairing. But here I loved Lava. I think I even loved Lava a little bit more than Wave. So that's why for me it means a lot. I really liked how headstrong he is, but also how much he kind of slowly changes, but without compromising himself. I don't like when movies or shows make a character change so drastically without showing us the process, but here the change wasn't that crazy. It was slow and it made sense. So in my opinion, he was the one that impressed me the most in the whole cast. Now, of course, Tatang also did very well. I liked Mon in this, not his best role in my opinion. Ryu, again, his character is very bland, but he did great. Neo was cute and charming. Min Tishar, it was the first role that I think that I've seen her in. She was also cute. I think overall, like, is this a show that like got the like craziest performances of all time out of its actors? Not at all. It's not a show with a lot of like high impact scenes where they're crying, they're sobbing, and it's really dramatic, and then you can really tell like, oh wow, the acting is crazy. But overall, I thought the acting was believable. I especially, we'll talk about it, really liked the chemistry and the like more queer aspects of Lava and Wave. So yeah, I did like the cast and acting. Next, we have the writing. So the writing of the show, again, I forgot to say, by the way, I fucking love this show. I really like this show very much. Will it be a show that like stays in my top favorite BLs of all time? No. But to be honest, from GMMTV, it is one of my favorite BLs I've seen in the past 2-3 years. It's definitely like in the top 10 that I've seen in the past 2-3 years. I did like the writing. I liked how daring it was. I liked that it included weed. So if you don't know, weed is very high topic, like hot button issue here in Thailand, because basically it was legalized a little bit after I first moved here, and now it's been starting to get banned again, but like it's very up in the air. And I was really shocked because again, it was just a few years back where you couldn't show alcohol or even cigarettes at all on screen. Like I still remember Not Me. Yes, I have to mention Not Me every episode. They were blurring the cigarettes, in the episodes where they were smoking. And of course nowadays the cigarettes are not blurred anymore. Burnout syndrome, again, like they're smoking, they're also, all three main characters are smoking all day. But I was kind of surprised that they would show like a joint, like they would show weed, and the effect of weed. And it wasn't very, I liked that it wasn't very demonized, because I mean, you know, I don't think weed is the worst thing ever, especially compared to other drugs. And I honestly think that sometimes weed is better than alcohol in terms of like symptoms afterwards, hangover versus nothing after you smoked or took an edible. So I did like that it didn't try to demonize weed, but did show the effect on someone who had never smoked before, because we see Wave being out of his fucking mind after he smoked his first joint. And I was very, very shocked that they could include it even like on TV and stuff. I don't know if on TV it was censored. I don't know what happened there. But in any case, I did like it because obviously it is a big culture here in Thailand. I mean, you cannot walk down the street in Bangkok and not see at least 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 like weed shops. So I was kind of pleasantly surprised to see that it was for once represented. And again, I still thought back of like 2 years ago where even cigarettes were censored on TV. So it was interesting. For the writing, I think it was pretty solid. I think it really hinged on the relationship between Wave and Lava. And it was very much a slice of life. So it's not like there's a lot of plot points. Obviously, there's the plot A, which is that like Wave / Davin is like, lost prince who forgot his memories. I thought that storyline was done well. And the only thing I would say is that I didn't love when he forgot his memories again. So basically he forgot his memories for I think 8 episodes out of the 10. And then episode 9, he remembers again his past as Prince Darwin, but forgot his relationship with Lava the whole time, the whole 3 months he was there. I felt like it was a little bit cliche, but honestly in the end I kind of did also still like it, because in the end, like at the beginning of the relationship, Lava is the one who's not committed and kind of messy and making kind of Wave suffer. And in the end, I felt like that was kind of karmic justice, because then Lava is the one suffering, unfortunately, waiting for Wave to remember him and accept him again. So that was the plot A. Plot B I would say is the romance, which is honestly, you know what? Plot A is the romance. Plot B is the whole memory forgetting. I thought the romance was very well done. I thought it was a quite realistic relationship where they actually have sex before getting together. I thought it was a much more modern way of seeing things. But in any case, I thought the writing was overall like very good. I wasn't bored watching the show. I was waiting for each new episode to drop and for me to watch the show. I liked the characters enough. I think my only issue with this show, and you will see it will reflect a little bit in the grade, even though I rated it quite highly, but it's not very high. It could have been higher for sure, is that I felt like a lot of it was quite surface level. I feel like, for example, the relationship between Lava and his mother, we see only like one scene that makes Lava be thrown out of his house in Bangkok and sent to the Bang Sawen Island to work with Na Peng. And then we see one scene of, in one episode, but it's honestly one scene where he reconciles kind of with his mom and like gets along with her again. And I'm kind of like, I feel like in real life, that's just not how it works. Like if you have a contentious relationship with your mother, it's not gonna take one scene, one time to fix it, you know? So I wished we would have seen more of that, especially also for Na Peng, like his backstory of running away because of his homophobic parents. I'm pretty sure then his sister does tell him that the parents would be accepting, or at least, she would be accepting even though the parents aren't. So at least he has still a good relationship with his sister. But I felt like I wish we would have seen some flashbacks of Na Peng as a teenager getting like bullied by his parents for being gay or whatever. You know, I felt like it was just thrown around in sentences, but I wish we would have seen it, because I felt like the character of Na Peng, most of the show in most scenes is very withdrawn emotionally from the other characters, and that makes the viewers withdrawn from him as well. Although I think he has a very interesting story. I mean, the fact that he got like bullied also on the island by once his relationship with Dr. Wood is revealed, and they start spraying some homophobic stuff on his political posters and shit. Like, this is a big deal. This is I wish we would have seen more of like how that affected him emotionally, even just the stress of it. Like, I don't know, I wish we would have seen a little bit more. For Tom and Kratet too, I felt like they were not developed at all. They honestly could almost not have been there and it would have been almost the same. They did bring kind of like a friend group vibe to Lava and Wave, and obviously if it was just Lava and Wave, there wouldn't be as many fun dynamics between them. And I did like the banter between Tom and Kratet, and obviously Tom being like an aspiring influencer, those help Wave remember his memories, because he filmed everything and then they show him all the videos that Tom took, and he finally remembers everything that he lived through on this island. So there were things where I felt like the writing is good. I was enticed. I thought the characters were fun. Like, for example, I liked that Flug Gawin's character. At first, I thought he was a bad guy, but he ended up being a good guy. I liked that Victor, Dawin's best friend, came back to try to kill him and he got caught. That kind of looped it back around. All of these things were nice. I just wish that the characters, like motivations and feelings had been developed a little bit more. You guys know that I am a character focused girly, and I wish like here in a show that has so few main characters and is so I feel like it had the screen time for it, but didn't really take advantage of it. But apart from that, again, I did really enjoy this show. I am kind of nitpicking, because I felt like I was attached to the show, but I could have been attached to it so much more. And one last thing that it is part of the writing, so I will include it here. I kind of hated how they gave Napeng and Mowood like a kid out of fucking nowhere. I understand. No, I don't understand why. Like, I didn't like that the pregnant women that we see supporting the political campaign of Napeng comes to congratulate him and then has her kid, and she decides literally. So, let me go back. Napeng and Mowood have been dating for 1 year. They just got married. Already, I find that a little bit rushed. I mean, same-sex marriage, yay, but like still. I did like the scenes of the weddings. I thought it was sweet. Again, I love seeing the gays get married and be happy and in love, obviously. But yeah, that's fine. I felt like the marriage was a little bit rushed. Whatever. Okay. But then the kid, literally, it was like in the fairy tales, like, oh, the fucking bird brought the baby, from the sky. You're like, oh, so they just got married a day ago and now they got a fucking kid. This is random as fuck, I felt like it happened in one scene, like how we didn't see how they adopted the baby, like how will they do to feed her, like appropriately, without the mother there, like what's gonna happen? And the mother is so willing and like, oh yeah, I was dropped by my boyfriend who put me pregnant. Let me give this my baby. I just gave birth 1 second ago. Let me decide on the spot to give this, okay, rich and loving gay couple my baby. But still, like, I was like, what the fuck? It was so random, and it kind of put a bad taste in my mouth because I felt like it was very cheap and felt a little bit out of place in a show that otherwise I felt was pretty realistic, pretty modern, pretty, like, I felt like it could have apart from the Prince thing, obviously. Yeah, but apart from the Prince thing, I felt like the weird thing, the island things, the parties, the cleaning the beach together, all this kind of stuff, like, I felt like these were realistic, and even the relationship between Wave and Lava was very modern in my opinion, and then this dropped out of nowhere. I felt like tonally it kind of threw me off. Then for the cinematography, so this is a well-filmed show, like all GMM shows, they all look good. Was the cinematography particularly incredible, breathtaking, life-changing? No. Obviously this is on an island, so the aesthetic is different. I love, this is not really cinematography, but I wouldn't know where to put it. How they let the actors actually get tan for these roles. I loved seeing, Winnie's skin tone get darker and his freckles come out. Honestly, I found him the most attractive he's ever been with the freckles on. Like, I thought he was so cool. And I felt like, yeah, obviously in a world where in Thailand people are obsessed with pale skin, like they are obsessed with that shit so bad. I feel like that was really refreshing to see that, yeah, they lived on an island and the actors were filming this on an island. So obviously they're gonna get tan. They're filming in the fucking sun, like, and that's fine, and they're still fucking attractive because of it. So I really did enjoy that. That has nothing to do with the cinematography, but I put it here because visually I thought it was striking compared to other shows. And yeah, obviously, like, because it's taken on an island, I love the island aesthetic. I love it so much. So obviously it's a good looking show. Like, it looks good. I liked, we'll talk about it, the fashion and how it worked with the setting of the show and the teams and the characters' personalities as well. But apart from that, were any shots and compositions of the shots that breathtaking? I would say no. It was a pretty basic show, unfortunately, to look at. But yeah, with the twist that it's on an island, so obviously it's a little bit more beautiful. Next we have the pace. I thought the pace of the show was good. I thought maybe towards the end it was a little bit rushed because basically we spent 8 episodes like with Wave / Darwin like being one thing which he has forgotten his past, and so he identifies as a Wave. Then only one episode where he forgets he's passed as Wave and only remembers him being Dawin. And then one episode where he remembers and he goes back to Aranta and they have kind of a long distance relationship. I thought that the pace towards the end was a little bit rushed and a little bit like, honestly, was it rushed though? I don't think they had that much more to say. You know what I mean? And I did like that in the end, yeah, I don't know. I felt like the pace was good. Was it the most like jaw dropping? I have to keep watching each episode series? No, obviously not. But I did want to keep watching. I did like the characters. I was attached to them. So I would say the pace was good, not great. Yeah, that's what I want to say. Now, for the ships and chemistry. So we have Lava and Wave. I thought Lava and Wave were really, really, really great ship. I liked that they had a lot of banter, especially at the beginning of the relationship before they ever fall for each other. I liked the way their relationship played out. And I liked that they didn't quite lose totally their banter even once they got together. I thought that they were very fun, very realistic. Are they a ship that I'm like, oh my god, they're soulmate, blah, blah, blah? No, not really. Honestly, if they had not ended up together in the end, which would have never happened, by the way. But if they had, like, I would be like, yeah, okay, sure. Whatever, like that's realistic. But apart from that, like, I did really, really like their dynamics, the way their personality fit together. I thought they were like really fit to be together. And because like they kind of complete each other, and Wave knows how to push Lava in certain stances and where Lava is pulling away, and Lava knows how to push Wave in certain instances where Wave is pulling away. So they really work together. Really, really like this ship. Definitely carried the show from in my opinion. And then we have Peng and Woot. Peng and Woot are a nice secondary couple. Again, I felt like Woot was so underdeveloped, and even Peng, who is more developed, I feel like they didn't develop him enough. Like, it was mostly through like sentences that he would say, oh yeah, like I ran away from my family, homophobic family. And I'm like, okay, sure, show us that, or talk about it more, like develop that aspect a little bit more. That's an interesting aspect of the character that makes him who he is. So we should learn more about it. And so because they were a little bit more blender and a lot less developed, I felt like, and obviously they're already together, so they're less push and pull. I do think the chemistry between them was very good. They were very convincing as like a couple and then a married couple, and I'm excited to keep seeing them together. I'm really excited for Mon to get a BL ship. I'm hoping they'll just keep getting more popular, because he's been working his ass off for years and years, and I think he deserves to be bigger than he is right now. So I'm excited for that. As for Tom and Kratea, they were even less developed. Obviously they are cute. They are dating in real life and have been for years, as far as I know. So they were obviously, like, chemistry was good, but like definitely not developed enough in my opinion. Next, the music. You are probably gonna know what I'm gonna say. Very forgettable. I didn't really pay much attention to it. I do like the soundtrack that I believe it's Winnie who's singing it, the like opening credits soundtrack, but I didn't really pay attention to it at all. So the music, meh. Next, the costume design. So as I said, I really enjoyed the costume design. I liked especially Lava's and Tom's outfits. They're very like island hipster, like weed enjoyer vibes. I really liked I believe it was Tom, or was it Lava? I'm not sure, but one of them had a shell necklace. Super cliche. I liked it. I like the color tones. Obviously the show is very like lots of blue tones and warm tones, and it worked very well together. I thought the costume design also for Wave was interesting, because obviously he's a king. So although he's dressed more casually as Wave, he still dresses a lot differently than Lava, and a lot more like chic, I would say, like island chic. And so I did like the costume design for the show. I thought it completed the characters' backgrounds and personalities well, so I did enjoy it. Now for the rewatchability, honestly, I would rewatch this show, but will I? No. Obviously, at this point, I'm not rewatching any shows anymore. Like, I genuinely don't have any time anymore to rewatch. And also, I feel like I don't want to get stuck rewatching old shows all the time. I felt like if I want to rewatch a show, it will be like 1 or twice a year. The only shows I've rewatched this year, and it was to introduce them to one of my friends, were all the Afghan shows in preparation for Burnout Syndrome. And so she has watched all of them. Her favorite was, of course, Not Me. And then she had the same exact ranking as me, which is Not Me, Theory of Love, Cooking Crush, The Trainee, Puppy Honey. And she is now caught up, and I need to tell her to watch the first 2 episodes because I'm pretty sure she still hasn't watched the 2 first episodes of Burnout Syndrome. But in any case, like, will I rewatch this show? Probably not. But would I be down to rewatch it, like, eventually if I had the time, if I had the desire to? Yes. I think it's a fun show. It's only 10 episodes. You guys know that I love series that are 8 or 10 episodes very much. Yeah, I would rewatch it, but will I? Probably not. Then my enjoyment out of 5, I would say a 4.5, because I've realized that I'm very generous with my ratings on this. Like, I always give either 4 or 5, and I give 5s way too much, 5 stars. I think I'm gonna give a 4.5 because there were shows around this show around the time that I was watching this show that I enjoyed a little bit more, namely Love in the Moonlight, namely I'm the Most Beautiful Count, Claire Bell. We're gonna have an episode on Claire Bell. You guys, we're gonna have an episode on Claire Bell, you guys! So, in any case, like, I really, did still enjoy this show, but I think, compared to other shows I was watching at the same time, it's not my top one, but it's in the top. It's in the top for sure. Now for my ratings. So I gave this show an 8 out of 10. While it has an 8.2 rating on my drama list, which I believe it's maybe the first time since I started this podcast that my rating is that close to my drama list rating, only 0.2 difference. I rated this an 8 because it's a show that I really enjoyed, but did it move me? No. I didn't cry in front of this show. I didn't feel even frustrations, anger. I was very chill, relaxed while watching this show, even in the more tense moments. And for me, ultimately, I think at this point, I've repeated in almost every episode, what I care about in shows the most is character growth and journey, and also feeling things. I want shows that make me feel things, and also maybe number 3, make me think a little bit deeply about things. Here, it did make me think a little bit deeply about, like, politically and how, like, being openly queer would affect that. But did it make me think about it that deeply? No. So in general, I would say that makes it so this show is a little bit more surface level and less deep and less pregnant with the things that I truly enjoy and for me make a show special than I would like. And that's why I gave it an 8, which means it's a show that I still very much liked. 8 is a very good grade for me. And I really enjoyed this show. It's just that for me, it was not as deep as I would have wanted it to be. Now, how I would fix it, I think I would give Na Peng a lot more screen time and more development, because I thought his relationship with Lava was very interesting. I do love a contentious family relationship. And I also thought his backstory was very interesting, and also his relationship with Mo Wood, like, that is secret, then him being, like, homophobically bullied on the island when he tries to become the, like, head chef of the island, was very interesting and very touching. And I felt like I was not emotionally invested enough, even though those are topics that do make me kind of emotionally invested by default. So I felt like that was because it was just not developed enough, and there wasn't enough emotional acting for me to pull me in. Also, I would make Tom and Krater a little bit more important, give them, like, one more storyline of, like, something interesting they could do. I did like the storyline of Tom, like, being completely without a job, like, very lost in his life, and Na Peng, like, helped him. I wish we would have seen more of Tom and Na Peng, like, have a friendship as well. Definitely develop Mo Wood, like, give him something more. One more storyline. But as for Wave and Lava, I think they were great. And maybe also develop Arenta a little bit more, because honestly, we didn't see them nearly enough, in my opinion. And I felt like they were very sparse. Like, they came in and out, and it didn't pull me in enough when they were threatened to be overthrown. Oh, and also, I forgot one of the most important part. I kind of fucking hated that we see them fix the problem. So when Wave ends up being hit in the head by Victor, falling off the boat, forgetting everything, almost dying, being saved by lava and living on the island, during that time, then Victor is the son of like the head of military in Arenta, and they try to have a coup, like a military coup, and take over. And that whole problem of Wave's family almost being killed and losing everything while Wave cannot remember them. For me, that would have been an insane emotional pull of the show, and it's barely developed. We see in one scene that they are being taken over. We don't hear of them like for 2-3 episodes. 3 episodes later, Gawin's character arrives on the island and tries to protect Wave and find Wave and whatever. And in the end, they literally conclude, like they say, oh, we fixed the problem. Like, actually, the coup didn't happen. So, you meant to say that we could have seen a coup d'etat that didn't get to happen on screen, and they chose to not show it? I felt like that was the cheapest way to solve this problem possible. And I'm like, if you cannot handle the budget or the screen time or whatever it is to actually show us the storylines that you want to discuss on the show, like you threw that storyline onto the show. You didn't have to though. Yet you chose to do that, and then you're like, oh, but we're not gonna show you. We're just gonna show you in one episode that they're taking over, and then 3 episodes later, oh, actually, we've beaten them. Don't worry. They didn't take over. No, I want to see that. I truly believe that the biggest rule in storytelling for movies and TV shows over like books and over other mediums that also tell stories is show, don't tell. This is a visual media. How can you just tell us, oh, there's gonna be a fucking coup d'etat in your home country, while Wave again does not remember his home country, which is fucking interesting. That brings drama, that brings tension, that brings like pain. Maybe imagine if one, like his big sister had been killed. Drama. His dad has been killed. His mom has been killed. Drama, pain, crying, suffering. That makes what? The viewer feel and care. So I felt like that was a little bit cheap, that they were like, oh yeah, no, we fixed it, but it was off screen. No. No. That's not how it works. In my opinion, I felt this was so fucking cheap. Lastly, who would like this show? Honestly, again, I think it's a very chill show with not a lot at stake. Like, emotionally, it doesn't really frustrate you, make you sad, make you cry, make you sob, make you laugh. It's a very, like, yeah, not that deep show, and I think it's very enjoyable. So honestly, I think, pretty much everyone would like this show, but would they love this show? Probably not. Probably, I would say most people would probably be like me, unless you are like a huge Winnie Satang fan. But this was a very, very nice show. I did really enjoy it. I just wished it had dove deeper into topics, because again, there were so many storylines that we saw only for like one episode that I feel like deserved a lot more love and development, and could have made the show a lot deeper and made me care a lot more about it. But yeah, that was it for today's episode. I will see you next week. Bye bye.